Yeah, he wired me $275,000.
So last time I've counted, I've gone through 12 eras of my life. They're very specific times I break up my life into. What titles would you give to the eras of your life?
Kansas,
Okay.
Lakehead, Cottonwood, high school, addiction, redemption, momentum. Those are just the ones that come to mind.
Okay. Tell me Kansas.
My brother and I were raised by my adopted dad in Kansas. We lived there, I don't know, till we were 5 or 6. And then we went back every summer. We had a farm out there. Friends of mine, they don't know that about me, but I have a little bit of a farming country background, which is why every now and then I have cowboy boots on.
Right.
Plus, they're very comfortable. That's why I really wear them. Back when I lived there, it wasn't a great place to live. I don't like humidity. They got these bugs out there called chiggers.
Oh, yeah.
They're horrible. It's like little demons, man. And so we didn't really like it there much. 39 years old, going back recently for a hunting trip. I love it. It's beautiful. The Midwest is a really cool place. But that part of my life, I did not like it at all. That's Kansas for you.
Kansas, okay. And
Have you ever been there?
I have.
What
Yeah.
part?
Just drove through
What'd you think?
fast as I could.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't wait to get to Colorado. We study the real estate market. There's suburbs to Kansas that are in the top 3 places to live right now for families.
Right.
Overland Park, Kansas City. Olathe, I believe it's pronounced. They're right below Kansas City, and these places are beautiful, and they're absolutely booming. And some of them are on the Missouri side, some of them are on the Kansas side. But that part of Kansas is very cool.
So one of the strategies buying a house a year is picking up those locations like that are actually still pretty affordable. And you can pick up an investment and rent it out pretty safely. People think, well, you got to buy the house where you live. Maybe. And it might be the best for you, but you might look at a place like Kansas City.
Well, and I think a lot of people think that because people like Dave Ramsey 10 years ago would always say, have investment properties in the town you live where you can go and check on it. Especially during the pandemic, property management has become so much better. There are some out there that are very, very good, and you can buy and hold real estate anywhere in the nation and not have to go there. Kansas is one of those places. Tennessee is one of those places. Little Rock, I don't know if you've heard, Little Rock, Memphis are top 2 for investments. Not necessarily for families, but if someone's trying to move money, you can still get 1%. You can buy a $100,000 house and rent it for $1,000 in the market.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with migration.
You could go back 10 years. Go up to Chris Lamm 10 years ago. What would you tell him?
Don't worry. It's going to work out better than you thought.
Why would you give that advice?
I used to be stressed out, I was always concerned, and I carried fear a lot. It was motivating. It was an asset for a long time. It wasn't necessary. The thing about fear and stress is it robs you from living in the present moment. And so I wish I would have just said, it's all going to work out better than you think. Enjoy every moment. Don't worry.
I got a picture, and you need to explain this picture to me.
Okay. A couple friends of mine up in Oregon, we were on a hunting trip up there, and one of my hunting buddies, Scott, he does Acro Yoga. At his house, he has a gun case with, taxidermy, but then he's got like 3 yoga mats leaning against his gun case. So it's this clash between worlds. And I love it because he is someone who really just personifies that you can't put people in boxes. So we're at this hunting place, and one of the guides who's, lives in the middle of nowhere, good old country boy, keeps complaining about how his back hurts. And they all know he does acro yoga, and, probably to some degree think, hey, I don't know, that's kind of weird. You can do that yoga thing, but we don't, that's for you. That's not for us. No judgment. But
Yeah.
Well, anyways, his back hurt so bad one day, he says, all right, let's try it. And so he does this move for him, ends up completely helping his back. And it was a great picture because, like I said, it was the clash of 2 worlds. They're wearing camouflage. We're on a hunting trip, and this guy's, doing acro yoga in the middle of the woods.
What is something that you love to give away, but you're really surprised people don't take more of it?
I love giving away everything I've been given. Most of it is just the wisdom I've learned on how to recover from, just living a hard life and having lots of trauma, and showing people that you don't have to stay there. Really helping the middle class realize, like, through real estate, you can create legacy wealth. I have.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of clients who have.
Over how many years have you been?
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
You've done quite well.
I have.
From the ground, like literally the ground up.
Yes, yes.
Like nobody, you didn't have a family with a deep inheritance that passed something to you.
Nothing.
You had to go out and go get it.
Absolutely. Barely graduated high school. Got in this business in high school. So a lot of the things I'm giving away is financial literacy. But beyond that, I do coach. So I coach mortgage professionals nationwide. They're all high six-figure income earners. Many of them have a net worth over $1 million. Some of these people, their life is completely out of balance. They are going through divorces. They have substance abuse issues. They don't know what emotional health is. And so because of what I've gone through, that is also something I try to help people with, is realize there's way more to life than money, property, prestige, and toys.
You've got $100 and you needed 200 by the end of the week. What would you do?
I think that I would probably give it away to somebody that needed it.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that generosity it's been a huge part of my life. When we really try to put our money where we know we're supposed to put it, it's going to come back to us.
Reminds me of a story I have.
Yeah.
My dad's he's in LA, right? And every night, all of his friends come together and play poker. Well, one night they said, I kept asking if I could play. I'm probably 11. And I said, I want to play. So they let me play one night. I win. So I get all this money. And I don't know what to do with this much money. I'm just an 11-year-old kid. But I had heard my stepdad say, you can't outgive God. So I went and tried to get rid of all the money. And so I did. I got rid of all the money. And the next night they said, you want to play again? You think you can win? I was like, yeah. I won again. And I tried to give that money away. And I got rid. I couldn't find enough places to give it away. So I ended up playing Space Invaders for 4 hours one day. And then I went home and this lady next door offers me this job to cut her grass for like $100 for a month.
Yeah.
I'm like, as a kid, it was just an enormous amount of money. So I keep giving it away. Well, one day I'm in Sunday school and I'm 6th grade. And in Sunday school, they passed around this little envelope thing like for coins. And I put $500 in there. And about 15 minutes later, this guy walks, he goes, all right, put the $500 in this packet. And no one would say anything. And no one knew. I wouldn't say anything. Finally, they go, all right, we're going to make all the boys in here do push-ups until we find out who did it. So we're all doing push-ups until we're like, okay, I did it. And I literally could not give this money away. The more I gave away, it's funny. The more I gave away, the more I kept getting more money.
Yeah. Here's a better one. Okay. Now I've thought about it a little now. That's a great story. And I stick with my first story.
Yeah.
But if I had to, and I would probably find someone else that trusts me and I'm in relationship with. I would say I have 100. I have to have 200 by the end of the week. If you give me 100, I will give you back 125. And I would give them some sort of collateral, like a house, something that's worth something, and say, I will come back for this. So that's probably would be the fastest and easiest way.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's something to be said there too, because of relationships.
Yeah.
It was probably a year ago that I needed a hard money loan, and this light bulb went off. Oh, I should call so-and-so, so-and-so, or so-and-so. And I realized I had all these people around me, and every single one of them said yes. In fact, most of them said, not only will we give you 80%, for those of you that don't know about, hard money loans, usually they'll only give you a percentage of what the house is worth. But one of the guys, he gave me 100% of the house, and he gave me all the money I needed to renovate it. And the title company was asking him to send some documents, and he was so busy. He said, dude, I trust you. I'll just wire it to your bank account.
Wow.
Yeah, he wired me $275,000 with nothing, no signatures, nothing. Not even a handshake, because he lived out of the area.
Wow.
And so yeah, relationships
Right.
is so important. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of being a primary residence versus an investment or secondary?
So it rates and down payment. You have less money down required, and you get more favorable rates if it's a house you're going to live in. And that's by design. You know, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, these are the government entities that purchase loans from banks, brokers, mortgage bankers, everyone that does mortgages. They all go to them. So they write the rules. They exist to create home ownership. They do not exist to create wealthy people. And so they're really starting to look at this. It was just a year ago, I don't know if you remember this, but they dramatically changed pricing for second home
Right.
and non-owner occupancy.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And so they realized what was happening, and they just essentially said, we're going to tax people, because that's what it is,
Right.
if that's what you're doing, because we don't exist for that. We exist for this. That's why, you know, people that want to buy a house to live in is one of the best decisions they can ever make to begin the path to creating wealth in their family.
And why do you say that?
Well, there's a few different reasons why. The simplest reason why is because of risk. You know, like right now, people think, is it risky to buy a house in 2023? Well, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're only putting 3 to 5% down, the bank is taking 95% of the risk. And they do that because they know that real estate is a safe long-term investment.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people that end up in foreclosure, it's a very small percentage of people. But let's just say that happened. Like, what does foreclosure mean?
Mm-hmm.
It means that you have credit problems that will last about 4 years before you can buy another house. It means that you're going to have a little bit of an experience that no one wants to have. You know, failure happens for some people. I mean, some of the richest people in the world have had bankruptcies and foreclosures in their life and learned from it, right? So the other thing that's important for people to understand is that real estate, even though right now the market is weird and people don't understand it, but real estate has always appreciated. I think in California, it's appreciated an average of 6.6% over the last 60 years. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah.
Well, let's just say it's 5%,
Yeah,
which is
that's
pretty,
very
pretty
conservative.
close to what it is everywhere in the nation.
Yeah.
And you buy a house today with 5% down, and let's say it's a $400,000 house and 5% is 20 grand.
20,000.
If you buy that house and you keep it for 5 years and it appreciates at 5% and you only started with $20,000, you leveraged a $400,000 asset. Your return on investment after 5 years, I mean, it's well over 100%. It might be a 200% return on that original $20,000.
Right.
And you can't do that anywhere else. I mean, of course, there's people who have had some fluke experiences in crypto or trading stocks, but that's a pretty probable situation for most people.
Consistent.
And you and I see it every single
Yeah.
day. Every single day we see that.
When I started real estate, houses I was selling for $80,000. That $80,000 home, 15 years later, was selling for $200,000. Another 15 years later, that house is now $450,000.
Yeah.
Originally sold for $15,000.
Yep.
And people thought 80 was too crazy.
I pulled up a report in California, and since 2010, the average appreciation in California is 137%. In fact, I bought my first house in 2009. I paid $190 for it. Now, if you remember, that was 2 years after the crash had started.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a $300,000 house in 2007.
Wow.
In 2012, it dropped to $130.
Yeah.
I was trying to time the market.
Yeah.
I jumped the gun a little early. But I still own it today, and it's worth $375.
Yeah.
And it's always been rented in excess of the mortgage.
Right.
You know, so those are the things when you ask that question that people have to think about. And that doesn't even take into consideration that the IRS still allows you to write off all the interest
Mm-hmm.
on a mortgage if it's a primary residence. all of the interest can be written off. I mean, that's a significant part of the mortgage payment that you're going to get back in a tax return at the end of the year, depending on how you do your taxes, obviously.
And I keep hearing the people say, well, I'm afraid of the risk. But the risk is they don't take your child. They don't make you work for the bank. It's just you give the house back and your credit gets dinged.
Yep.
That's it?
Well, the other thing that people don't, when they have that question, what's the risk of not buying a house right now? And I would ask you that question.
That is the worst part.
I haven't thought through that. What would you say to that question?
Well, the risk is now you've paid rent to a landlord. You've paid off their mortgage for them. So now instead of buying a house a year, you're helping that guy buy a house a year. And you don't get any equity. If you did buy, you have to buy into a more expensive market. Mm-hmm. Instead of getting yourself locked into a market and start growing with the market. Yeah. Now you're always chasing up versus now you're riding a wave.
Yep. Well, what if you love your neighbors and you like where you live, it's in the right school district for your kids, and all of a sudden your landlord decides they want to sell the house or they want to renovate it or they want to raise rents? I mean, those are not fun.
Rents are always going to go up.
Yeah, we were going to build a house about 5 years ago on some property. I decided not to. And we were living in a rental because we had sold our house. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do. And I had 2 kids at the time. And it was a great house right in town. And it was a friend of mine. And we realized that the house we were going to build was going to take longer, cost more. Typical story with building. And we decided to figure something else out. Well, I called him. I said, hey, I'm going to need to stay here a little longer. He was not able to honor it because he had it rented out 6 months after I left for way more money, and there was no way for him to break that contract. And It was the first time in my 22 years of lending that I didn't own the house I lived in where I was actually able to feel the pressure that most people feel. Luckily, we were able to kind of scramble, and we found the place we live in now, and it's great. Honestly, I wish I would have had more time.
Chris, how can people connect with you and tell the world how you can serve them?
You can email me, call the office, go to my Instagram and message us. That's kind of the way a lot of people reach us now. Well, I will tell you that the way that we serve people is not a whole lot different than what we're doing right now. We're going to have a conversation, get to know each other. And if it makes sense for you to enter the world of buying a house, I'm going to tell you every option that's available. Whether you're a first-time buyer or an investor who's bought properties, we can help you. And it starts with a conversation.
One of the best compliments I've heard is they contacted you. They were terrified. I had to actually really, really encourage them. You need to talk to Chris because he's going to give you a plan. They called me back. Thank you so much. We have a plan now. I'm clear-headed. I know exactly what I need to do. Mm-hmm. Great job.
Yep.
So if you need Chris, he's excellent at what he does. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you. Good times.
Me, bro.
I'm Jerry, your real estate friend, and we'll see you in the next video.